watching us online. 15 organizations represented in the room, and thank you for making the time. I also want to recognize the presence of the State Department for Mining, Ministry of Blue Economy, Mining and Maritime Affairs. We have distinguished ladies and gentlemen that have supported the sector, and you will hear some of them speaking later. And so as we begin our program, I also want us to start with a word of prayer, and I will ask for a volunteer. So anyone to pray for us, I will walk the mic to them. Yes. Thank you, Madam Githaiga.
Let us pray. Our Lord and our Father, we come before you this evening with thanksgiving. We worship you, we honor you, we glorify your holy name, and we adore you. Father, we exalt you because you are God. We are thankful, Father, because you have gathered here as a community of people who have worked on a journey. We thank you for the journey that we have been through, for the 10 years, Lord, that you have enabled Haki Madini to do the work that they have done. Thank you for every person that has passed through this process. Thank you for every person that has supported this work. We give you glory and honor, even for the communities that have been impacted by this work. As we celebrate the 10 years of our existence, dear Lord, we want to say and return all glory to you because it is you who has enabled this work. Cause us, Lord, to always glorify you and to never say it is by our efforts, but to know that it is you who allows us, Father, to do the work that you call us to do. We give you thanks and praise, and we commit the program to you. We ask, Lord, that you be the guide, be the leader, and direct us in your way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you very much. So we are here because of celebrating a movement that started 10 years ago. Some of us were not part of initiating. We found it in the journey almost 8 years ago. And so we have people in the room that have walked the journey. In fact, I was eavesdropping a conversation here earlier. Someone saying, you see this Haki Madini logo? Ati kukua na dots. Waliongeza dots. Because when they first put it out, it didn't represent human beings. So the dots were little heads to represent. Are you seeing the people on the logo? You're seeing? Me, I didn't see it. I could hear the conversation. So really, there's a wealth of knowledge here of what that journey has been, and we shall hear a bit of it later. But also is to celebrate the milestones. It's been quite a journey for those that are in the room and have experienced it. And I know as you walked in, you were given a small bag. And inside that bag is Haki Madini's 3rd strategic plan for the next 5 years. And it's been a journey of saying, what were the lessons learned? What can we do going forward? And so I will welcome you as you go home to look at that strategic plan. For partners who are not on board, to align with us as we take that journey and see where the focus is. And that we shall speak to in more detail. And so, ladies, without much further ado, I'm going to ask for the other microphone to go round. Thank you. Can I have help? Please just tell us your name, your organization, and maybe for how long you have been part of Haki Madini. And I think I shall start. My name is Hannah Wangombe. I work for the Association of Women in Energy and Extractives in Kenya. I've been part of this journey for the last 8 years. I want to start at the back there. Thank you.
Sorry, she's my colleague. I just tagged her along. My name is Gladys Mungare, working in the Anglican Development Services. I've been part of Haki Madini since 2016, when it was implementing a project called Madini Yetu, Wajibu Wetu. So the project came to an end in 2020, but we have continued holding the baby together because we know the potential that the movement has. Thank you.
Your colleague can still introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Sophia Gaki. I am a project coordinator in Livelihoods and Resilience, joining in to learn more. Yeah, thank you.
My name is Eusebius Atamalo from KCCB. We've been in this journey since its inception. She was my staff, our staff then. Glad he's here. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Peter Kimodo, KCCB, CJPD.
For those in the room that don't know what KCCB is, could you tell us in full?
Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops.
Asante.
KCCB.
Asante.
Dash CJPD, Catholic Justice and Peace Department.
You know, CSO is very notorious for acronyms, and you might have people in the room that do not know what that is. Asante.
Good evening. My name is Isaac Waithaka, a consultant with Kenya Human Rights Commission.
Good evening. My name is Miriam Wanjiru. I'm with International Alert. I think we started this journey with Haki Madini in 2021 when we started our business and human rights projects that is majorly works in extractives and renewable energy.
Hi everyone, my name is Faith. I work with the Coalition for Human Rights and Development. I have not been in this journey. I have not been in this journey with you, but I have been an avid supporter, I think, since last year when I came to know about the work that Haki Madini is doing. And I've just come to celebrate with you as you continue to achieve more.
Hello everyone, my name is Ivy Nzilu with Transparency International Kenya. We've been in this journey since 2017.
Good evening everyone. My name is Miriam Wanjiru. I work with and for Institute of Public Finance. My boss is somewhere, so when he's introducing himself, he'll talk more about the journey that we have been together. So thank you.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Kashi Jamin from Kwale. I'm the coordinator for Kwale Mining Alliance, and I think I've been in this journey for the last 5 years. So, thank you.
Good evening. I'm Anthony Adoyo. I work with the Friedrich Naumann Foundation. This is the third time I'm interacting with Haki Madini. Thanks to my good friend Furaha.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charles Wango with NZ Jayo Africa Initiative, representing also the platform, and we've been on this journey for a long time.
Good evening. My name is James Keta. I work with ActionAid. I think ActionAid has been part of this journey since inception. When I joined ActionAid, I found it embedded in it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is John Mundia from Thomson Reuters Foundation. I learned about Haki Madini last year, so that's how long I've been in the journey. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Kariuki. I've been part of Haki Madini since 2015. I work with Levin Sources.
Good evening. I'm Joseph Kata Munyogi from Kitui, Moi Basin. I've been a beneficiary of Haki Madini since 2016 up to date.
Hamjambo. Naitwa Beatrice Mjomba. Natoka Taita Taveta, civil society member wa Taita Taveta Human Rights Watch, and a partner with so many other actors inside here, majorly with ActionAid. We have been with Haki Madini since inception. In fact, it was our brainchild also. with wale wengine ambao tulikuwa pamoja, ADS Pwani, NCCK, the Catholic Justice Peace Commission, and the others. And we are the implementers of the goals of Haki Madini up to now, and the journey is still continuing in Taita Taveta. Thank you.
Good evening. Kodieny Hilary from Oxfam, Kenya. Pleasure to be here. Asante.
Good evening, everyone. Adrian Topoti from Base Titanium. I am new to Haki Madini, quite a toddler, if I might say, but I'm here to represent Dr. Melba, a veteran, obviously, with the Haki Madini journey. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mary Campbell. I work with Kenya Human Rights Commission. I have interacted with Haki Madini since 2015 when I joined KHRC with Elizabeth before the grass became greener for Elizabeth elsewhere.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alaka Lugonzo from Oxfam. I have interacted with this journey since 2018 when I was working for AWIC, and now currently work for Oxfam.
Hi everyone, Samuel Nge is my name. I've been with the coalition since 2018 when I was working for Transparency International Kenya until last month when I started working for NAMAT. Thank you.
Right. Good evening. My name is Daniel Dirango from Institute of Public Finance. Miriam has asked me to mention about when we started. I'm not very sure there's a clear start, but I would say from around 2021 when we started some work in this sector through the support from Oxfam. And I must say we've met very amazing and vibrant colleagues in the space, and I'm really glad I got an invitation to this dinner. The first dinner on a Monday, corporate dinner on a Monday.
Yes, good evening. My name is Elsheba Okech from Kwale Mining Alliance. And I think I started interacting with the Haki Madini from last year, June, the last born. Thank you.
Sorry. Good evening, everybody. You can see I'm almost standing back, but I just realized you can see me on the screen. This is what happens, Wangombe, you know, with age. You can notice the difference between people's age groups. So, Haki Madini, I started, my name is John Omenge, and I've worked both in the energy and mining sectors in this country. First contact with Haki Madini was when I was in the Ministry of Energy as Chief Geologist and thereafter as Secretary for Geoexploration when we were discussing issues to do with Mui Basin. Very tough time. Then thereafter, I got appointed as Principal Secretary for Mining. And things intensified. You know, Haki Madini things intensified. We were doing meetings even over the weekend, on Sundays, on Saturdays. It was very tough. And Gidaiga here, when she saw me, she said, you made me work on a document into the night in the office, all those kind of things. We have worked with Eusebius, of course, at Amalo and the others. And many people here. So I'm happy to be part of this evening. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Melissa. I've escorted the person who has just spoken. So I've known Haki Madini by association for as long as he knew Haki Madini.
Asanteni, good evening colleagues. My name is Lucy Gedaiga. Kai nao mimi nitasema ninajua tangu mwanzo. Mimi nimekuwa hapo ingawaje I veered off to other things, but Nico, my spirit lives.
Wow, good evening everybody.
My name is Purity Kagendo. I work for Diaconia. I have known Haki Madini since the beginning, in the beginning. Thank you very much.
Good evening, all. Yes, my name is Joseph Kuria. I'm representing my boss, PA State Department of Mining, and I'm a geologist. I don't have to speak so much who, when, but I know there is a journey.
There's one gentleman who has walked in. Could you introduce yourself?
I thought he did not notice me. But yeah, I'm Cornelius Odur. I work with the Kenya Human Rights Commission as the Deputy Executive Director. I'm happy to be associated with Haki Madini. Kenya Human Rights Commission hosts Haki Madini. Thank you and welcome.
Good evening, I'm Florence Deti. Work for Caritas Kitui. I'm as old as Haki Madini.
Asante, madam. So I think from the reason for those introductions is to understand the kind of stakeholders we are sitting within the room and the strengths of why the coalition has remained very strong. And as I was looking through, we have now 19 organizations represented, including government. And so this journey has been really a coalition of the willing. Those that have wanted to walk this journey, those that have put their resources into this journey, and that is why we can celebrate 10 years. So situjipigie tu makofi kidogo. Kusema well done. I would have told you to pat your neighbor on the back, but labda ujui neighbor wako na I don't want to be inappropriate in any way. But there's many good things to talk about where this is going. And so, ladies, I just want to be cued. Are we ready for dinner? Okay. So in front of you is a small, what we'll call agenda for the evening. And because we want to keep this short and sweet for Monday evening, Mr. Dirango, your first dinner on a Monday, corporate dinner, okay. We are going to serve dinner, and we had given it almost an hour, but we'll shorten that because we have also begun late. We shall listen to the keynote address. You can see the people there to give that. And then we shall listen to other speakers, just give their perception of the journey and what they envision it to be going forward. And I think as Kenyans, we are not very good at giving people their flowers when they are with us. We wait at burials. So we have said we are going to give people their flowers today for putting the effort. And we know there's been tears, there's been pain, so it did not go unnoticed. And so that's why we are holding the awards. We are calling them Pioneer in Extractives Awards. And this really is to say, you are a trailblazer in setting up such a movement. And so we'll be recognizing a few members, some of whom are not with us, and some are here with us. And then we shall close with a vote of thanks. So that really is our agenda for the evening. I am told that dinner will be served in 10 minutes. And so for the media team, can we watch the documentary as we wait for dinner to be served? Asante.
Kenya is a country that is said to have a potential for mining. Kenya is a country that is said to have a potential for mining, and we contribute, or rather mining contributes a paltry 0.9% to the GDP of this country. However, it is a sector that does not help our communities, or rather they don't benefit. And it is for this reason that the Haki Madini Coalition was formed, of which AWIC is a member. Haki Madini is formed right now of 19 organizations that fall across civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, and others that follow the cause of championing communities. And that is how we found ourselves forming a coalition to ensure that communities that are affected by mining have a voice and agency.
Haki Madini came in at a very critical time during the review of the policies, the 1940 Mining Act. Of course, having the government really focusing now on the mining sector and the contribution it would have in the economy. So Haki Madini came in strongly to strengthen communities to participate in that legislative processes, and did an amazing job in really putting the community interests secured in the legislation, in the regulations, especially for the Mining Act, and also in strengthening the capacity of communities on mining issues. A lot of the communities do not understand their rights, do not understand the interests of the different actors, the private sector, the government in the mining space. And so Haki Madini has really been able to not only contribute to the community interest in the legislation, but also strengthen communities living in the mining areas to be able to engage positively and strongly at the local level, and even amongst themselves to clarify what do they want from this mining action, how do they collectively engage.
The communities were organized, mobilized and organized into platforms, which now they continue to engage on extractive sector work, even without our active involvement.
The formation of an alliance like Kwale Mining Alliance, which brought together different partners and stakeholders in the mining space in Kwale County. And even as we speak, since it was incorporated in 2018-19, that's when the alliance was established. Today, the Kwale people have an alliance that they can say, look, if you want to engage on anything around mining in this county, you have to go through Kwale Mining Alliance. So we look back and say, through the coalition, through the partners that are working together, led by Transparency International Kenya and the Kenya Land Alliance by then, we can say we have a platform that we've established which gives the community a platform to engage.
A platform that advocates for justice in the mining sector, both environmental justice, social justice, and also inclusion in decision making in the sector.
Under Haki Madini, as a coalition of civil society groups, we designed a program that we called Madini Yetu, Madini Yetu. Our minerals, our responsibility. And under that program, we engaged the Ministry of Mining to influence and inform the 2016 Mining Act. Actually, that was like a brainchild of Haki Madini Coalition.
Our unique contribution is creating that platform whereby we can have these civil society actors, government, private sector, development partners, caucus and meet and have various discussions around policy advocacy, capacity building, transparency and accountability and governance of the sector. Because at the core of our work is the communities, and these communities are essential to the work that we do. So that platform creates an opportunity whereby all these stakeholders are brought together.
We have been able to revamp the coalition based on the meetings that we have been able to convene, and trying now to rebuild the partnerships that we have had with government and the different civil society actors. So I'd say one of the biggest achievements at KHRC we have been able to achieve through Haki Madini Coalition is revamping the coalition and making it vibrant. And now we are seeing a lot of partners and organizations who are not previously not members of Haki Madini, who are now interested in joining the coalition, and we've really seen its membership. The membership of Haki Madini is really growing because now more partners are becoming aware of Haki Madini, what it does, and therefore they want to join the coalitions. And even communities now, we are getting a lot of requests to even be part of Haki Madini. So I'd say the visibility also has really enhanced.
The network of CSOs has kept increasing. We are almost getting to around 30 CSOs. And we are also looking at oil and gas in areas where we have gas and oil in this country. So the network has grown. We understand the situation at hand in relation to what communities are experiencing. We are alive to the law because last year we had a sitting to review the revenue sharing bill, and we did our submission to the Ministry of Mining. And before then, we have also done a regulation on the community agreements, because the Act provides that communities must be involved and there must be development of community agreements during mining. So Haki Madini has been the champion, the lead champion into looking into legal framework and also making sure that the aspirations of the communities are captured in those legal frameworks that the country is developing. So we pride that we've been on the forefront and we continue to move forward.
The launch of the strategic plan, which we did quite effectively. I think with that, there's now a clear strategic direction on where we are going with the governance of natural resources in the country. And of course, out of that, politically, the coalition has been quite active now since we took over the hosting, and also since we got more resources from Oxfam.
The current strategic plan for Haki Madini, it's focusing on being community-centered. When you talk about the community, you're also talking about women. And that is where Haki Madini then plays a role in ensuring that there is inclusion of this segment, of this constituency, of mining communities.
At least now, in some mining areas, we have women who own mining pits, like in Taita, in Kakamega, because we have sensitized through the initiatives, we have sensitized the communities and men to give women a chance in the mining sector.
So the coalition has come strongly to build, strengthen, to deepen the knowledge of the communities and also support them in collectively organizing and occupying that space. So it's really supporting them to speak for themselves, but also to speak with them in solidarity around the issues of mining in a way that the companies get their profits, the government gets their revenue, and communities' human rights are not violated. At the same time, they also get the economic benefits from the mining sector in Kenya.
Most importantly, the information and knowledge and awareness on the laws that are there, like the Mining Act, to artisanal miners who for a long time had been considered illegal, so conducting illegal business. But with the current Mining Act, now it's a legal livelihood that artisanal miners and small-scale miners can engage in.
To the partners in the extractive sector, there is power in numbers. This is a good opportunity in which to come together and caucus and see what the strategic plan has to offer in terms of program and project implementation, and also the opportunities for also the communities to actually reap from the benefits of having communities or having organizations that are well organized and they are put together and they've come together. And also I think it's important that even as we have conversations with governments, as we have conversations with stakeholders and academia, we speak with one voice, and Haki Madini is that voice. So I'd urge them to join the coalition, be part of the movement and be part of amplifying the voices of the community.
I think my call out there to people, to communities, to the civil society and other institutions that are working in the mining space is that, as actors in that space, we need to work together. There's no way we can succeed if you're not working together. So we need to collaborate both with the communities, the government, and also other colleagues in their space. And the platform that brings us together is now Haki Madini Coalition. This is a national platform, a national coalition, and we have seen a lot happening through the coalition. So I find it one of the best coalition for people working the mining space.
So mine is to say, comrades, we've been doing this for 10 years. We can do this longer, but as united. We're inviting other civil society organizations to join us, because if we continue working in silos, we are not going to get the intended impact. Kenya is now opening up to what we are calling transition and strategic minerals for the energy transition. The demand for minerals will come here. We have an opportunity to change the lives of our communities. So come and join us and let us do this together for another 100 years.
And I can see I have a guest that I must recognize. She's my boss, and I want to keep my job. Madam Noreen, just name, organization, Asante.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Noreen, and I'm the board chair of AWIC. Just to say congratulations to Haki Madini, and as Hannah said in that video, we look forward to partnering more for the next 100 plus years. Thank you.
Thank you. And so, ladies, I don't want to go into the details. It is now 7:30. I want us to go by table, and I want to start with this table to serve, and then we shall call the tables as we go. So, table number 1, tafadhali. Media team, you can entertain us with some music. Thank you.
Kenya is a country that is said to have a potential for mining, and we contribute, or rather mining contributes a paltry 0.9% to the GDP of this country. However, it is a sector that does not help our communities, or rather they don't benefit. And it is for this reason that the Haki Madini Coalition was formed, of which AWIC is a member. Haki Madini is formed right now of 19 organizations that fall across civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, and others that follow the cause of championing communities. And that is how we found ourselves forming a coalition to ensure that communities that are affected by mining have a voice and agency.
Haki Madini came in at a very critical time during the review of the policies, the 1940 Mining Act. Of course, having the government really focusing now on the mining sector and the contribution it would have in the economy. So Haki Madini came in strongly to strengthen communities to participate in that legislative processes, and did an amazing job in really putting the community interests secured in the legislation, in the regulations, especially for the Mining Act, and also in strengthening the capacity of communities on mining issues. A lot of the communities do not understand their rights, do not understand the interests of the different actors, you know, the private sector, the government in the mining space. And so Haki Madini has really been able to not only contribute to the community interest in the legislation, but also strengthen communities living in the mining areas to be able to engage positively and strongly in at the local level, and even amongst themselves to clarify what do they want from this mining action, how do they collectively engage.
The communities were organized, mobilized and organized into platforms, which now they continue to engage on extractive sector work, even without our active involvement.
The formation of an alliance like Kwale Mining Alliance, which brought together different partners and stakeholders in the mining space in Kwale County. And even as we speak, since it was incorporated in 2018-19, that's when the alliance was established. Today, the Kwale people have an alliance that they can say, look, if you want to engage on anything around mining in this county, you have to go through Kwale Mining Alliance. So we look back and say, through the coalition, through the partners that are working together, led by Transparency National Kenya and the Kenya Land Alliance by then, we can say we have a platform that we've established which gives the community a platform to engage.
A platform that advocates for justice in the mining sector, both environmental justice, social justice, and also inclusion in decision making in the sector.
Under Haki Madini, as a coalition of civil society groups, we designed a program that we called Madini Yetu Wajibu Wetu, Our Minerals, Our Responsibility. And under that program, we engaged the Ministry of Mining to influence and inform the 2016 Mining Act. Actually, that was like a brainchild of Haki Madini Coalition.
Our unique contribution is creating that platform whereby we can have these civil society actors, government, private sector, development partners, you know, caucus and meet and have various discussions around policy advocacy, capacity building, transparency and accountability and governance of the sector. Because at the core of our work is the communities, and these communities are essential to the work that we do. So that platform creates an opportunity whereby all these stakeholders are brought together.
We have been able to revamp the coalition based on the meetings that we have been able to convene, and you know, trying now to rebuild the partnerships that we have had with government and the different civil society actors. So I'd say one of the biggest achievements at KHRC we have been able to achieve through Haki Madini Coalition is revamping the coalition and making it vibrant. And now we are seeing a lot of partners and organizations who are previously not members of Haki Madini, who are now interested in joining the coalition, and we've really seen its membership. The membership of Haki Madini is really growing because now more partners are becoming aware of Haki Madini, what it does, and therefore they want to join the coalitions. And even communities now, we are getting a lot of requests to even be part of Haki Madini. So I'd say the visibility also has really enhanced.
The network of CSOs has kept increasing. We are almost getting to around 30 CSOs. And we are also looking at oil and gas in areas where we have gas and oil in this country. So the network has grown. We understand the situation at hand in relation to what communities are experiencing. We are alive to the law because last year we had a sitting to review the revenue sharing bill, and we did our submission to the Ministry of Mining. And before then, we have also done a regulation on community agreements, because the Act provides that communities must be involved and there must be development of community agreements during mining. So Haki Madini has been the champion, the lead champion into looking into legal framework and also making sure that the aspirations of the communities are captured in those legal frameworks that the country is developing. So we pride that we've been on the forefront and we continue to move forward.
The launch of the strategic plan, which we did quite effectively. I think with that, there's now a clear strategic direction on where we are going with the governance of natural resources in the country. And of course, out of that, politically, the coalition has been quite quite active now since we took over the hosting, and also since we got more resources from Oxfam.
The current strategic plan for Haki Madini, it's focusing on being community-centered. When you talk about the community, you're also talking about women. And that is where Haki Madini then plays a role in ensuring that there is inclusion of this segment, of this constituency, of mining communities.
At least now, in some mining areas, we have women who own mining pits, like in Taita, in Kakamega, because we have sensitized through the initiatives, we have sensitized the communities and men to give women a chance in the mining sector.
So the coalition has come strongly to build, strengthen, to deepen the knowledge of the communities and also support them in collectively organizing and occupying that space. So it's really supporting them to speak for themselves, but also to speak with them in solidarity around the issues of mining in a way that the companies get their profits, the government gets their revenue, and communities' human rights are not violated. At the same time, they also get the economic benefits from the mining sector in Kenya.
Most importantly, the information and knowledge and awareness on the laws that are there, like the Mining Act, to artisanal miners who for a long time had been considered illegal, so conducting illegal business. But with the current Mining Act, now it's a legal livelihood that artisanal miners and small-scale miners can engage in.
To the partners in the extractive sector, there is power in numbers. This is a good opportunity in which to come together and caucus and see what the strategic plan has to offer in terms of program and project implementation, and also the opportunities for also the communities to actually reap from the benefits of having communities or having organizations that are well organized and they are put together and they've come together. And also I think it's important that even as we have conversations with governments, as we have conversations with stakeholders and academia, we speak with one voice, and Haki Madini is that voice. So I'd urge them to join the coalition, be part of the movement and be part of amplifying the voices of the community.
I think my call out there to people, to communities, to the civil society and other institutions that are working in the mining space is that, as actors in that space, we need to work together. There's no way we can succeed if you're not working together. So we need to collaborate both with the communities, the government, and also other colleagues in their space. And the platform that brings us together is now Haki Madini Coalition. But this is a national platform, a national coalition, and we have seen a lot happening through the coalition. So I find it one of the best coalition for people working in the mining space.
So mine is to say, comrades, we've been doing this for 10 years. We can do this longer, but as united. We're inviting other civil society organizations to join us, because if we continue working in silos, we are not going to get the intended impact. Kenya is now opening up to what we are calling transition and strategic minerals for the energy transition. The demand for minerals will come here. We have an opportunity to change the lives of our communities. So come and join us and let us do this together for another 100 years. Kenya is a country that is said to have a potential for mining, and we contribute, or rather mining contributes a paltry 0.9% to the GDP of this country. However, it is a sector that does not help our communities, or rather they don't benefit. And it is for this reason that the Haki Madini Coalition was formed, of which AWIC is a member. Haki Madini is formed right now of 19 organizations that fall across civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, and others that follow the cause of championing communities. And that is how we found ourselves forming a coalition to ensure that communities that are affected by mining have a voice and agency.
Haki Madini came in at a very critical time during the review of the policies, the 1940 Mining Act. Of course, having the government really focusing now on the mining sector and the contribution it would have in the economy. So Haki Madini came in strongly to strengthen communities to participate in that legislative processes, and did an amazing job in really putting the community interests secured in the legislation, in the regulations, especially for the Mining Act, and also in strengthening the capacity of communities on mining issues. A lot of the communities do not understand their rights, do not understand the interests of the different actors, the private sector, the government in the mining space. And so Haki Madini has really been able to not only contribute to the community interest in the legislation, but also strengthen communities living in the mining areas to be able to engage positively and strongly at the local level, and even amongst themselves to clarify what do they want from this mining action, how do they collectively engage.
The communities were mobilized and organized into platforms, which now they continue to engage on extractive sector work, even without our active involvement.
The formation of an alliance like Kwale Mining Alliance, which brought together different partners and stakeholders in the mining space in Kwale County. And even as we speak, since it was incorporated in 2018-19, that's when the alliance was established. Today, the Kwale people have an alliance that they can say, look, if you want to engage on anything around mining in this county, you have to go through Kwale Mining Alliance. So we look back and say, through the coalition, through the partners that are working together, led by Transparency National Kenya and the Kenya Land Alliance by then, we can say we have a platform that we've established which gives the community a platform to engage.
A platform that advocates for justice in the mining sector, both environmental justice, social justice, and also inclusion in decision making in the sector.
Under Haki Madini, as a coalition of civil society groups, we designed a program that we called Madini Yetu Wajibu Wetu, Our Minerals, Our Responsibility. And under that program, we engaged the Ministry of Mining to influence and inform the 2016 Mining Act. Actually, that was like a brainchild of Haki Madini Coalition.
Our unique contribution is creating that platform whereby we can have these civil society actors, government, private sector, development partners, caucus and meet and have various discussions around policy advocacy, capacity building, transparency and accountability and governance of the sector. Because at the core of our work is the communities, and these communities are essential to the work that we do. So that platform creates an opportunity whereby all these stakeholders are brought together.
We have been able to revamp the coalition based on the meetings that we have been able to convene, and trying now to rebuild the partnerships that we have had with government and the different civil society actors. So I'd say one of the biggest achievements at KHRC we have been able to achieve through Haki Madini Coalition is revamping the coalition and making it vibrant. And now we are seeing a lot of partners and organizations who are previously not members of Haki Madini, who are now interested in joining the coalition, and it really seeing its membership. The membership of Haki Madini is really growing because now more partners are becoming aware of Haki Madini, what it does, and therefore they want to join the coalitions. And even communities now, we are getting a lot of requests to even be part of Haki Madini. So I'd say the visibility also has really enhanced.
The network of CSOs has kept increasing. We are almost getting to around 30 CSOs, and we are also looking at oil and gas in areas where we have gas and oil in this country. So the network has grown. We understand the situation at hand in relation to what communities are experiencing. We are live to the law because last year we had a sitting to review the revenue sharing bill, and we did our submission to the Ministry of Mining. And before then, we has also done a regulation on community agreements, because the Act provides that communities must be involved and there must be development of community agreements during mining. So Haki Madini has been the champion, the lead champion into looking into legal framework and also making sure that the aspirations of the communities are captured in those legal frameworks that the country is developing. So we pride that we've been on the forefront and we continue to move forward.
The launch of the strategic plan, which we did quite effectively. I think with that, there's now a clear strategic direction on where we are going with the governance of natural resources in the country. And of course, out of that, politically, the coalition has been quite active now since we took over the hosting and also since we got more resources from Oxfam.
The current strategic plan for Haki Madini, it's focusing on being community-centered. When you talk about the community, you're also talking about women. And that is where Haki Madini then plays a role in ensuring that there is inclusion of this segment, of this constituency, of mining communities.
At least now, in some mining areas, we have women who own mining pits, like in Taita, in Kakamega, because we have sensitized through the initiatives, we have sensitized the communities and men to give women a chance in the mining sector.
So the coalition has come strongly to build, strengthen, to deepen the knowledge of the communities and also support them in collectively organizing and occupying that space. So it's really supporting them to speak for themselves, but also to speak with them in solidarity around the issues of mining in a way that the companies get their profits, the government gets their revenue, and communities' human rights are not violated. At the same time, they also get the economic benefits from the mining sector in Kenya.
Most importantly, the information and knowledge and awareness on the laws that are there, like the Mining Act, to artisanal miners who for a long time had been considered illegal, so conducting illegal business. But with the current Mining Act, now it's a legal livelihood that artisanal miners and small-scale miners can engage in.
To the partners in the extractive sector, there is power in numbers. This is a good opportunity in which to come together and caucus and see what the strategic plan has to offer in terms of program and project implementation, and also the opportunities for also the communities to actually reap from the benefits of having communities or having organizations that are well organized and they are put together and they've come together. And also I think it's important that even as we have conversations with governments, as we have conversations with stakeholders and academia, we speak with one voice, and Haki Madini is that voice. So I'd urge them to join the coalition, be part of the movement and be part of amplifying the voices of the community.
I think my call out there to people, to communities, to the civil society and other institutions that are working in the mining space is that, as actors in that space, we need to work together. There's no way we can succeed if you're not working together. So we need to collaborate both with the communities, the government, and also other colleagues in their space. And the platform that brings us together is now Haki Madini Coalition. This is a national platform, a national coalition, and we have seen a lot happening through the coalition. So I find it one of the best coalition for people working the mining space.
So mine is to say, comrades, we've been doing this for 10 years. We can do this longer, but as united. We're inviting other civil society organizations to join us, because if we continue working in silos, we are not going to get the intended impact. Kenya is now opening up to what we are calling transition and strategic minerals for the energy transition. The demand for minerals will come here. We have an opportunity to change the lives of our communities. So come and join us and let us do this together for another 100 years. Kenya is a country that is said to have a potential for mining, and we contribute, or rather mining contributes a paltry 0.9% to the GDP of this country. However, it is a sector that does not help our communities, or rather they don't benefit. And it is for this reason that the Haki Madini Coalition was formed, of which AWIC is a member. Haki Madini is formed right now of 19 organizations that fall across civil society organizations, faith-based organizations, and others that follow the cause of championing communities. And that is how we found ourselves forming a coalition to ensure that communities that are affected by mining have a voice and agency.
Haki Madini came in at a very critical time during the review of the policies, the 1940 Mining Act. Of course, having the government really focusing now on the mining sector and the contribution it would have in the economy. So Haki Madini came in strongly to strengthen communities to participate in that legislative processes, and did an amazing job in really putting the community interests secured in the legislation, in the regulations, especially for the Mining Act, and also in strengthening the capacity of communities on mining issues. A lot of the communities do not understand their rights, do not understand the interests of the different actors, the private sector, the government in the mining space. And so Haki Madini has really been able to not only contribute to the community interest in the legislation, but also strengthen communities living in the mining areas to be able to engage positively and strongly at the local level, and even amongst themselves to clarify what do they want from this mining action, how do they collectively engage.
The communities were organized, mobilized and organized into platforms, which now they continue to engage on extractive sector work, even without our active involvement.
The formation of an alliance like Kwale Mining Alliance, which brought together different partners and stakeholders in the mining space in Kwale County. And even as we speak, since it was incorporated in 2018-19, that's when the alliance was established. Today, the Kwale people have an alliance that they can say, look, if you want to engage on anything around mining in this county, you have to go through Kwale Mining Alliance. So we look back and say, through the coalition, through the partners that are working together, led by Transparency National Kenya and the Kenya Land Alliance by then, we can say we have a platform that we've established which gives the community a platform to engage.
A platform that advocates for justice in the mining sector, both environmental justice, social justice, and also inclusion in decision-making in the sector.
Under Haki Madini, as a coalition of civil society groups, we designed a program that we called Madini Wetu. Our minerals, our responsibility. And under that program, we engaged the Ministry of Mining to influence and inform the 2016 Mining Act. Actually, that was like a brainchild of Haki Madini Coalition.
Our unique contribution is creating that platform whereby we can have these civil society actors, government, private sector, development partners, caucus and meet and have various discussions around policy advocacy, capacity building, transparency and accountability and governance of the sector. Because at the core of our work is the communities, and these communities are essential to the work that we do. So that platform creates an opportunity whereby all these stakeholders are brought together.
We have been able to revamp the coalition based on the meetings that we have been able to convene, and trying now to rebuild the partnerships that we have had with government and the different civil society actors. So I'd say one of the biggest achievements at KHRC we have been able to achieve through Haki Madini Coalition is revamping the coalition and making it vibrant. And now we are seeing a lot of partners and organizations who are previously not members of Haki Madini, who are now interested in joining the coalition, and really seeing its membership. The membership of Haki Madini is really growing because now more partners are becoming aware of Haki Madini, what it does, and therefore they want to join the coalitions. And even communities now, we are getting a lot of requests to even be part of Haki Madini. So I'd say the visibility also has really enhanced.
The network of CSOs has kept increasing. We are almost getting to around 30 CSOs, and we are also looking at oil and gas in areas where we have gas and oil in this country. So the network has grown. We understand the situation at hand in relation to what communities are experiencing. We are alive to the law because last year we had a sitting to review the revenue sharing bill, and we did our submission to the Ministry of Mining. And before then, we have also done a regulation on community agreements, because the Act provides that communities must be involved and there must be development of community agreements during mining. So Haki Madini has been the champion, the lead champion into looking into legal framework and also making sure that the aspirations of the communities are captured in those legal frameworks that the country is developing. So we pride that we've been on the forefront and we continue to move forward.
The launch of the strategic plan, which we did quite effectively. I think with that, there's now a clear strategic direction on where we are going with the governance of natural resources in the country. And of course, out of that, politically, the coalition has been quite active now since we took over the hosting, and also since we got more resources from Oxfam.
The current strategic plan for Haki Madini, it's focusing on being community-centered. When you talk about the community also,
I know it says we have a keynote address, but you shall allow me. We had invited the Principal Secretary, State Department of Mining. The office called and said he was not able to attend in person, but sends his representative who is here with us, and he shall make very broad remarks. And why I think this is important is something I've observed with other CSOs in other countries. Most CSOs are always at loggerheads with government. It's not been our case. And so we enjoy a camaraderie with government that many other CSOs don't enjoy. So I want to say that a representative of the PS, he shall introduce himself. I invite you to make your short remarks. Karibu.
Good evening once again. My name is Joseph Kuria. I'm a geologist. For the sake of those who are not there, that's why I was reintroducing myself. And because I know I'm dealing with CSOs, I'll not speak so much like them. But I'm happy that I've met many who I had met earlier. I was looking forward to meet the co-chair. We met somewhere in mining in Daba. I was also looking forward to meet another economist from Kipra. We met somewhere in Brisbane, and all those guys are not in mining sector. And that speaks volumes. I also met other guys here like Ruse, when they wanted to start mining. I don't know whether they knew what they were doing, but when they went to, I hope there is nobody from Kakamega here. Please don't reason this. She went and lost everything there because she was cheated. She thought she is very smart, and unfortunately she lost. Beside the point, I know this is a community that is thinking good of the mining or extractive sector, and we celebrate you. I want to read the statement as it is so that I don't get somebody requesting for a pen. My former boss is also here and he knows the protocol in the government, so I'm not supposed to speak after reading the statement, and I want to stick to that. So allow me to read the statement as it is. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. This is from PS Rija Mongi, CBS, PS State Department of Mining, from the Ministry of Mining, Brew Economy and Maritime Affairs. It is an honor to be here to celebrate 10 years of your existence. Haki Madini Kenya, being a coalition that endeavors to work with communities from all walks of life, residing in or around the mining areas, has been playing a key role in ensuring harmonious coexistence of all sector players. The coalition has partnered with government and other private players to promote responsible stewardship in extractive sector. Haki Madini Kenya has demonstrated the importance of working together and leveraging the sector to ensure the mining and affected communities will see a positive trajectory. The challenges met by this coalition in the last 10 years of existence have made you firm and stay on course. The lessons learned in this journey have left you more productive and informed. The Mining Act of 2016 provides for the establishment to promote job creation through the use of local expertise in the mining industry, the entire mining value chain, and to retain the requisite skills within the country. It also seeks to develop local capacities in the mining industry value chain through education, skills and technology transfer, research and development, and more importantly, to achieve the minimum local employment level in the country spread across the entire mining industry value chain. The Act has spelled out that marginalized groups, including women, persons with disability, minorities and persons from communities where mineral activities and mining operations are to be undertaken should be included in employment plans of such operating companies. This clearly spells out why we have been partnering with Haki Madini. As we meet here today, as members, as friends, as partners, communities, and other allies to celebrate Haki Madini Kenya's 10th birthday. We appreciate the right this coalition has provided in eliminating the extractive path that we all desire to see in developing our country and caring for our brothers and sisters. Be your brother keeper, like Haki Madini Kenya. Thank you all, and wishing you all of us a great celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kuria, even for championing us on as government. And I want to swiftly move on to our next speaker. I will not try to read his accolades. But if you have worked for 40 years, weka mukono juu. 40. 40. Yes. So, I didn't say lived, I say worked. So, and I want to give a personal story even as I invite him to come. You know, he has many BSc, MSc. He will tell us what FGSK means, and also has a state commendation, CBS, given by the president in 2019. But beyond the title, I want to say this is a man who held the civil society organization. when we were putting together, especially the Mining Policy and Mining Act. His door, when he was Principal Secretary, was always open for us. And Madam Lucy Githega can testify. Me, I've sat in that office until 11 p.m. Mine was 11 p.m. I'm sorry, yours was 1 a.m. Because of the dedication. Number 2, and I say we are giving people their flowers when they are here. AWEC is the only organization to have had a vote in the ministry to host the Kenya Gem and Jewelry Fair because of this man. And so, sir, as you come to give your keynote address, we want to say we appreciate, we are thankful for the support you give us, and we continue to enjoy the fruits. Karibu. And please, makofi kwa Mr. Omenge.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, once again. What do you do if somebody says such things to you? Let me take this opportunity to congratulate the entire team who are here. And I know that many of you we've met before. Some of you we've worked so hard together. As Lucy Githega was saying, sometimes working into late. But you know, Lucy, sometimes you have to be careful, because when you say you worked until 1 a.m., you must... Yeah. You know, this is the beauty of working with a team who are really dedicated. Because I remember Lucy, Purity here, Wangombe, Gladys, plus Alaka and the others. They will come and they will insist they must get an appointment. And if you try and say, you know, our timetable is full and we may not be able to receive you, they say we will even come at 6. So you had to work. So it was nice working with the team, and the team helped produce results, both for, I will say themselves, because then the organizations grew and the number in the basket of Haki Madini increased over time, didn't it? And also for us as Kenya, because I saw areas where we had challenges, like in Kwale, and where, you know, issues were resolved entirely on account of the activities that were coordinated through Haki Madini. So we congratulate you, and we say 10 years moves quite fast. Now I have seen people have changed within the organizations in the basket. People are bigger. I've seen the titles when we were watching. So this is good. I must congratulate you. What I intend to do is really to say, one, that the role of civil society in the affairs of our country has actually changed over time. Way back in the 1980s, early 80s, when I joined service myself, it was civil society, mundu humundu, with the government. You remember those days? For those older lot, it was a real mundu humundu, eh? And yet, that changed. And over time, the role of civil society, working and getting things to be done, moved them closer and closer, and eventually I will say they actually joined government. They joined government, and there was such a strong movement from civil society that eventually developed into, for real, government itself. I mean, if you have any doubts, you will have to look back and look at and see people who served in government, who have held very high posts, who were actually in civil society that worked towards creating changes in our country. I can list a whole number. Dr. Willy Mutunga, you remember him? He's still around. You remember Professor Kivuta Kibwana, isn't it? He became cabinet minister. My own minister for energy, Kiraito Murungi, came from the civil society. And so you will see there are some who went into legislative part of government, some went to executive, some went to the judiciary. And you know, if you know our current Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court, she came from civil society, didn't she? Yeah? So what has happened is that in truth in our country, we have been able to grow leaders coming from all fronts. Unlike before, when leaders were grown perhaps from the executive side alone, or if partly they came from legislative side. And you remember we used to run a system where they were combined sometimes, both legislative and executive together. So our country is a beautiful country. It's an example of a country where we are able to grow leadership from all sides. I'm really looking forward to see people from Haki Madini taking big posts in government, in the different arms, and helping implement using the skills that you have acquired over time when you are working within the basket. Because this is what we require, that everybody in our country has an opportunity to serve, and to serve to any of the levels. And that's the beauty of having a democracy like Kenya. So yes, there was a time when it was, you know, mundu humundu, but which changed. Then, as time was running and we were experiencing these changes and we were seeing beautiful things happening, you could point out programs that have succeeded on account of the work done by Haki Madini. The PS speech has outlined very clearly the fact that the ministry is working very well with Haki Madini. So I think Mr. Kuria, kindly take back our regards to our PS, Elijah Mwangi, and tell him that we congratulate the ministry that that is the right thing. It's the right thing because the work done by Haki Madini is at the heart of the people. Whether you are talking about concerns as were expressed in Kwale, which now has grown into the Kwale Mining Alliance. You remember the programs that were created by the State Department for Mining at the time, working with the communities, working with our Senate, working with the National Assembly, if you remember the meetings. And this is what has now grown and matured into that platform. The people from Taita, you remember very well the work that was started by government again, the women groups and youth groups that were formed, which eventually formed the basis for what we see as a vibrant mining sector in gemstones that is strongly, strongly held in place by women. I really look forward to see men groups in those areas also. We can speak about what we've seen in Kakamega, two teams that started mining by the initiatives of the government, supporting women and overcoming a cultural bias, which we all know very well. How many people in here know of mines, shafts where women can go in and mine and come out without interference. This is starting to happen in our country. It started to happen on account of that great example from Kakamega. And so other cultural biases can also be overcome. We can discuss on matters of inclusiveness. The team in Kwale were quite concerned. If I remember Githaiga, they were quite concerned about certain aspects that they did not understand as to how they were being presented to them. And they were not saying, you can't mine. They were saying, let us discuss. And Transparency International, as part of the team, really helped put together initiatives that helped succeed in terms of expanding the mining life for base titanium at the time. Now, base titanium, of course, transnational, and yet the efforts that were very useful and which led to an increase in the mining life came from a local team championed by Haki Madini. So the question of promoting accountability. There are issues about mining that ran for long times in media, in the news, Mui Basin coal, which I happen to have been associated with those early days, and that's how we met with Akina Lucy. You know, where by virtue of a need for transition, a need for change in the approach, and Canon Karanja, Dr. Canon Karanja and the team, you know, helped us shepherd into place a great understanding that opened opportunities. And Caritas Kitui are here. You remember those things. And how it's at Ufungamano, I think the meetings were being held where there were discussions and eventually people were able to say we work together. I remember last also the efforts by KCCB, our Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops. Eusebius is here. And at that time, Gladys was also at KCCB. You know, efforts to get an understanding across spectrum for people to appreciate what are we talking about. So if you ask me today, then I would say, yes, Haki Madini has helped us work towards promotion of accountability so people can be held to explain and that everybody who is a stakeholder understands what it meant, including even supporting our parliamentarians. And I remember meetings where Haki Madini really helped. No doubt, we, across the nation, see diverse interests. People who are mining, who are private sector firms. We see diverse interests in the sense that you have community leaderships, diverse interests in the sense that you have people from interest for legislation, policy development, etc. All this. So the role of Haki Madini, in my opinion, in supporting some of the processes in Parliament, supporting some of processes of government on the ground, has also taken care of that. It's obvious a lot of efforts have gone into fostering civil education. I remember the work to do with the limestones in Atingai, in Kitui, for example. A lot of civil education. I remember the work in the Rift Valley to do with FLOSPA, a lot of effort, a lot of education. I remember that. And how that really helped bring together that community team that helped move the projects forward. When you look back to in most of this project, including the example of Kakamega, the efforts have worked to foster cohesion, much more than creating divergence and problems. So I believe that the roles that we have seen implemented over time by these various partners within the Haki Madini basket have been very useful to this nation. So what about going into the future? Going into the future. You've heard what the PS statement said, and I think this is really the direction that we should take. Government is saying, take advantage of the opportunities which are available. So, now that in Haki Madini, the programs that have been running have endeavored to address various aspects, including where we have had difficulties. Mr. Kuria would remember in Migori some of the challenges that we've had. We opted to say, why don't we go to the Haki Madini way so that we can be able to solve some of those problems. I think Haki Madini should now start preparing for programs that will help us lift off. Wangombe, I heard the words potential, potential, potential. I think as a country, Joseph, we now cannot afford to talk potential. As the PS said, let's take off, isn't it? Let's take off. Let's not talk potential. Let's talk implementation. I liked what I saw Wangombe say in the video. She said, take advantage of the transition minerals opportunities that are arising now. So Haki Madini and the rest of us in civil society should really now be thinking, how do we quickly implement along those lines? So we help drive off this thing. Since we have seen Haki Madini grow in 10 years and grow to such a great team that is delivering, so Haki Madini believes in itself. I think Haki Madini can help us also believe in ourselves as a country so that we implement these things and do well. I think I want to stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I take the challenge. I have stopped talking about potential. And you raise, I like the issue you bring about the role CSO has played, especially looking at the CSO space. And I captured 4 key that I had not thought about. Fostering cohesion. I think Haki Madini has done that. For many years, that has been really the rallying call. Can we work together? The second one is promoting transparency and accountability. I think that has been the call to action from the beginning. Civic education. Again and again, this is the place CSO has played. And the last one is advocating for policy reforms. I think there's every partner seated here has an advocacy mandate to do that. And so, sir, we take on the challenge to leverage on the new impetus in the sector. And Mr. Kuri, every day we see, every week there's something on mining in our newspapers. If not Coltan in Embu, a signed MOU with Indonesia, is it Indonesia? For a lab, there's always something happening around mining. And I think the space and the work for CSOs is really cut out. And especially with lifting of the moratorium, I think there's going to be renewed interest in our country for minerals, especially those we are calling strategic. And I think the call again by Mr. Omenge is that we leverage on that. So I want to call my next speaker, Madam Alaka Lugonzo. When Awek was a baby, and at one point we went into a meeting, tukaitwa chama cha wamama. Alaka fought. You see her here, she's wearing a different hat now. But we thank you for opening those doors and fighting and really telling that there is a space for women here. So, but she's coming to speak her journey. She represents Oxfam at the moment. So as you are saying, Mr. Omenge, people have grown. They hold new titles. She shall tell us what title she holds. But karibu. Makofi ya ku-encourage, Madam Alaka.
Thank you very much, Hannah. Well, my speech was written partly in traffic while I was rushing here because I was also in a meeting about, again, Haki Madini and many other things that we do. But I think as Hannah mentioned, my journey with Haki Madini started when I got into the extractive sector. I can say I'm sort of like an outlier. When I was running away from active practice, going to court, you know how advocates are with our big coats and our shoes that are worn out on one side. I was like, that is not going to be my life for the rest of my life, literally. So once upon a time, I went into a hotel for an interview. That's my only interview I've done in a hotel with Lucy and Monica and Melba in the evening at 6:30. Then they told me, go and sit outside there. Watanita. There were no other candidates. So I was wondering, what is happening? Is this and then they called me. And then I went home and I told my mom, yeah, so I got a job. She's like, at 7 p.m. She's like, yeah, come go and tell your dad. This story doesn't make sense. So we were having dinner. I told my dad, yeah, I have a job. My dad looked at your mom, yeah, your child. Talk amongst yourselves and then tell me what this job you're doing. So till today, I don't think my dad really knows what I do. I've tried explaining to him. So he still says I'm a lawyer because that's what seems presentable, to tell his peers when he's in the club or when he's in these meetings. He says he's a lawyer. My daughter is a lawyer. But I hope... Yes, because that's what he paid fees for. These other things that I do. So he calls this, my law is my day job, and then this other extractions is my night gig. So rightfully so, I'm here at night. So every day I validate him. When I tell him I'm at a dinner at 9 o'clock, and he's like, I told you, your daughter. Yeah, we still don't know what she does. So... my journey with AWEC was phenomenal. I think they gave me an opportunity to get into the sector. And as Hannah said, and Lucy was my first boss who was my chair, they let me run with it. Kicking and screaming, falling over. They'd send me into meetings. Can you imagine, I think 2 weeks into AWEC, I was going to State House. This job is one of those jobs where you tell people, let me tell you, what do you do for a living? Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. So we ended up in State House. You'd like, let's run to the PS's office. I remember even when he gave us money to do gems and jewelry fair in the middle of the night, I was on the call with the banker at KCB. He's like, Alaka, I'm staying up for you. Your pesa inkiingia hivi, I will alert you. At 9:30, money came in. The next day, we were paying the hotel. So those are the things those are some of the stories you tell people. And then you go into the bank, you're signing big checks. People are looking at you, you're a small girl running around with a checkbook. People are opening doors for you, but they don't even know that that's not your money. So AWEC was such an interesting experience. So What I had written is my first interaction with Haki Madini, I think, was in 2018. When they were planning Jukwaa la Madini. And I remember Angie, she used to work with Charles at the platform. She called me in and she said, look, I know you can be able to do Jukwaa la Madini with us. Please, collaborate so that Awe can be able to get her voice at Jukwaa. So I think at that point, I did not grasp the level, or intensity of the organization, because I walked into a room and I think she's not here, Harriet. Is Harriet here? Harriet, at that time, she was running with TI, yes, and Sam. And Harriet was like, okay, this is what I need you to do. And I'm like, I don't know what you people are talking about. Then Angie called me. So we had coffee with Angie that evening, and she said, look, I'll help you, because these are big organizations that have been in the extractive sector. They know what they're going to do. So how is AWEC going to fit into this space? So we had to figure out a space for AWEC. And that's what I was tasked to do at Haki Madini. And, all these years, figuring out that space at Haki Madini has been also being part of the, being part of the coalition. So moving on to, COVID happened, then I moved on to Oxfam. Then a few years ago, my boss, then the country director is called John Kitui, picked up the phone, very excited, and he said, oh, I've had a conversation with my friend, the executive director, I think he's called Davis, and they're very good friends, and he's like, you have to figure out how to fund Haki Madini. And I told him, yeah, I'd already put in a proposal to actually fund, it's on your desk. He's like, oh, okay, send me the email. So he literally approved that proposal on a phone call, because Davis, you should thank your executive director. Yeah, so we go into a meeting and he's very excited, the country director is very excited, to be part of this Haki Madini coalition, because that's the work, mainly Oxfam does. It funds and gives technical support to organizations that are, movement building organizations. We also fund an organization called Oko Ochumi, and we feel like it's part of giving agency, to these organizations. So, Dr. John Kitui has moved on to greater heights, and I think part of the work is under Oxfam, and as we provide strategic leadership, is working with civil society organizations to create agency, that voice that is able to last beyond the financial support that Oxfam is able to give. Because I think currently Oxfam is one of the only organizations that still adamantly working in the extractive sector and funding civil society organizations. And it's been a fight internally, because you understand how the extractive sector is transitioning. We're now moving into more climate justice work, climate resilience, loss and damage. We're moving into just energy transition work. It's difficult to put a case for extractives, but seemingly enough, every time you put a case for coalition building and civil society and movement building, there are the donors, the back donors, which is Oxfam Novib, Oxfam America, they're happy and willing to fund coalition. So we hope that we can continue, funding this work based on the backbone and the background of some of these coalitions. So I think I see a good opportunity, I think, in terms of conversations on critical minerals and, just energy transition. That's how the extractive sector looks like for me in the future. And I think now Haki Madini and the conversations that we've been having, even in our meetings, even as we have our meetings, as we talk amongst ourselves with all the partners that we fund, is figuring out how to make regional partnerships. Because now the conversation on critical minerals or just energy transition is moving from more country level, conversations into more regional level conversation. That work is figuring out how, say for example, the lithium in Zimbabwe is, going to get all the other way to Europe. But how does that look like for, East Africa? How does that look like for a pipeline or for a railway line coming from all the way down south, to connecting to the east, and exportation is currently happening. So how does that look like in terms of industrialization for East Africa? I don't think we should be left behind, because if your Uganda has your oil and your Tanzania has your gas, and your Kenya is here talking about its rare earth minerals, its manganese, its titanium, what are those conversations we're having at a region? Because I don't believe value addition can be done as a country, it can only be done as a regional block, because the amount of monies that need to go into this industrialization, so to speak, is quite hefty. So what does the role of Haki Madini come in if we are having this conversation at a regional level? So it means then the communities now move from country level to regional communities. And they are your Southern African, regional organizations or coalitions that have gone ahead of you. So I think it's better for you, instead of reinventing the wheel as Haki Madini, let's collaborate with some of these regional organizations that have been around. They know what to do. They've been there, they've done that, and we don't have to reinvent the wheel and go through all the struggles that they've gone through. So I think for me is, thank you very much, actually, Furaha and the team at Kenya Human Rights Commission. And even when John reached out and said, please work with them, thank you for working with us. Hopefully we can be able to get a bit more funding in the next financial year to continue this work and to grow the Haki Madini to the next 20 years. Thank you.
Donna amesema iko pesa ya coalition. So maybe Alaka, allow me to say that you're implementing a project called Fair for All. And the focus, and she rightly says that Oxfam is one of the few organizations globally that is agreeing to fund extractive programs directly. And part of what the Fair for All program is saying, that because of the localization agenda from the global north, that coalition building is the way to go. And I think we stand at the right place to be able to attract that kind of funding as a coalition in Kenya. So we shall continue knocking at Oxfam doors and everybody else who is seated here who can fund. And as we celebrate 10 years, there's something I want to say that has been a great initiative, the Jukwaa la Madini. I think it's been one of the very unique things about the coalition. And why it is because it brings artisanal and small-scale miners to the table. Those we call grassroots. We held, I think we didn't hold for a long time after COVID, we held one last year, and the conversation was real. The room was buzzing, 200 of them in a room. And that was quite something. So it's an initiative I would like in the future to continue. And I know Sam and his team started one called Jamvi. I've never understood the difference. Jamvi la Madini na Jukwaa. I know the Jamvis are smaller, and then we go to the big ones. But he can tell us later what the difference is. But they're a good initiative to bring those communities that never make it to the table to come. The next speaker, she's one of those who listens to you and then just asks one question. And it takes the whole conversation to another, a very keen listener. She may not be loud, but very strategic in the way she thinks. I have worked with her as a part of the coalition, and I want to invite Purity to come and make her remarks. My coffee.
Thank you, Hannah. And good evening once again. I am very excited this evening, and I didn't know I'm such a good listener. Now I know. Okay, yeah, I know. I repent. You don't tell lies when your former boss is in the room, but I really appreciate. I'm very, very excited. Very, very excited to be here, having been at the birth table of Haki Madini Kenya. I know Lucy will give the juicy story. She's a storyteller. Thank you for giving me the leeway to ponyoka with a few words. So she'll tell all the many words. But it's really exciting to see how far we have come as a coalition. And I just want to appreciate you, Hannah. I want to appreciate Kenya Human Rights Commission. There is a committee, Akina TI, Akina, we want to really, really appreciate that you have held fort for the coalition even after 2020 when Diakonia, where I work, Diakonia Sweden, transitioned. We had a change of programming. Lucy will mention that. She was the one who cut the funding. She's the one who wrote. Yeah. But when I actually sat there this evening, I thought, actually, I think it was good that we transitioned. Looking back, I mean, the trajectory that we were having for Haki Madini, having been the mother, seeing you growing in the first year, trying to figure out your tata, mama, trying to learn the language of the industry. I think we're also very green. You know, none of us knew a lot of these industry terms and the interests, how to speak to government. Mr. Omenge, I think all protocols were not observed. Maybe that's why we were ready to come and talk to you at 6:30 in the evening, because that's how we work in the sector. But really just learning, you know, beneficiation. Do you remember? I don't know where Edgar is, but really learning, all of us learning as civil society organization. And I think for me, the beauty of Haki Madini Kenya is that there is space for all. That time we were 7 mothers who were birthing the coalition, you know, all of us together. And you know, when you're mothers, everyone has their own idea how this baby should look like, you know, and how they should do things. But again, bringing in our different experiences, bringing in our different mandates. I mean, you've heard what Kenya Human Rights Commission was able to do, what TIA is able to do. This house, this platform brings all that together, our different capacities, our different mandates. I remember in the second year, and I know, Lucy, I hope I'm not preempting your story, but let me say this, in the second year when we were having like tantrums, you know, like 2-year-olds, you know, we are running all over, we want to do everything, everyone has their way of doing things. I remember we're seated in the table and Kenya Human Rights says, expose, combat, confront. And the faith community says, dialogue, let us go and dialogue, you know. And for us who are holding the funds as Diaconia Sweden, we are wondering, now, these children, we need to rally ourselves towards the goal. And I kept on saying that we have a rat to kill. Yeah, there are different ways of killing the rat, right? There are those who enjoy the splatter of the blood, you know, when you just hit it and the blood splatters. You know, there are those who bring a cat, meow, and they'll eat it. There are those who put a mtego, there are those who put a rat, the dawa. At the end of the day, the rat dies. So long as we are clear that our rat here is advancing responsible extractive sector or governance in the mineral sector in Kenya, we are clear on the rat. So if you enjoy the splatter, there is room for you. If you enjoy the rat, no worries, so long as we are killing the rat. And I remember that is a role we played consistently through this program, Madini Yetu, Wajibu Wetu. And with time we've grew. And it's really, really exciting to see where we are. I think as a mother, sometimes you also have to let your children figure themselves out, you know, and what we are seeing now is really figuring themselves out really good, being shepherded and hosted by Kenya Human Rights Commission. And of course, the co-chairs NCCK and Econews Africa. So, since she said I'm a good listener, I want to continue listening, but I want to also bring greetings from our new country director. She's called Madam Irene Maina. She's currently in Uganda. That is why she couldn't join us today. So please accept our greetings. And also a commitment for Diaconia. Yes, we let you grow, and we have grown. And in this new space, as we continue analyzing the context and seeing what are the available spaces, we are very keen again to engage. I'm so happy to see one of the, I think, objectives and one of the indicators around responsible business practice. That is the area we are thinking keenly about. I know we've talked to you guys informally, and so we'll be keen to see how does that space looks like. I liked hearing the regional thinking, Alaka, because that's the way to go. And I ask that even as we go regional, our core mandate, in our language we say kaumo, you know where you come from, yeah, is centrality of community. I think that is what has defined Haki Madini. So whatever way we will, whatever outfit, regional spaces we want to engage in, kaumo, we must work with them, we must actually enable them to work and engage, be there in solidarity and support them. So we want to reiterate our commitment, and I know we are talking, we'll keep talking, and kuna nuru gizani. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Purity. You know, when you look at an organization that has taken 10 years, we say forming, storming, now we are norming. We stormed. That one, in fact, there are people saying here they have wounds. But reconciliation, tutadil nayo baadaye. But I think we are more friends than what we were before. And I think we are very clear on the goal and the rat we want to kill. And the communities that we want to continue supporting. And I don't know, when you were starting, how many organizations were at the start at the table? 7. We are now 19 in the coalition. And so it continues to grow, and there's still space for everyone to come. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker the first time I listened to her, I said, hey, is this the space I've found myself in? One, she's a storyteller. An orator par excellence. But the one thing that I totally admired about you, Lucy Githaiga, is the day that was mentioned by Joseph Kuria, if you allow me. You went into mining, whatever happened, happened. The transparency in which you conducted yourself was A1. I have never seen anything like that. And I said, for sure, this is something to be emulated. At one point, you're saying, I'm going to step down. She was an awake chairperson and said, this has happened to me. I'm stepping down. And we said, no, you cannot step down. What do you mean? You know? So, Lucy, I know there were tears. I know there was a lot of pain. But the baby has grown. It is here. It continues to work. And so, even as you come to give us your story, your journey, the future, remember, we did not forget the work you did. Karibu.
You know, when I walked in here first, I was very...
So you wait for the mic.
Go, bring it. You know, when I walked in, because by the way, those who follow me on social media know that I am now interacting in theological spaces. Theology, you know, from civil society to theology. Only God does that. Eh? All that. But when I walked in, I felt so uneasy, so unusual. I was like, guy, which space is this again? But anyway, now I am at home. I am feeling the warmth and all. But I was asked to say a few, I was called on Friday by Bernard, and I was asked to say a few remarks. So you'll allow me, and because I don't remember how we used to do protocol, mimi wacha tu niendelee na maongeo yangu. Sawa? Flashback. We are celebrating 10 years of Haki Madini. I walked into my office on, I think it was June, somewhere in June of 2014. I used to have the practice of, you know, unakuwa country director, lazima ukue context, ujue mambo inaendelea namna gani kwa dunia. So we used to have newspapers, so you read the newspaper and you see what is there, you know, before then you settle into the business of the day. So we used to have a small boardroom, so I sat there, I read the newspaper, and an article attracted my eyes. I don't know for what reason, but something just caught my attention, and it was Moi Basin. At that time. So I read, I said, hey, kai, wanataka kuwa hawa watu wa nini wa Kitui. So when I read that article, my first instinct was to call G.S. Karanja, Canon Karanja, the former General Secretary of NCCK. So I called him, and we would speak in Kikuyu. So, hey, Lucy, hey, Deatia, hey, how are you? So I told him, we, umeona gazeti? Ananiuliza, gazeti, what is there? So anyway, I told him, there's a story there that you need to pay attention to. So he said, anyway, Lucy, you after you've read, it's okay, you talk to my team. I was like, huyu and his ID. I called Esther Muyo of Groots, Kenya. I asked Esther, because our office used to be very close to Groots, and I asked, Esther, how are you? Have you arrived? Yes, I'm just at the parking. Nikamwambia hata usingie ofisi come. So she walked to our office, and we sat in the boardroom. And, you know, we're reading this gay article like word for word. And I remember calling Purity there, and we were like, no, we cannot, we must do something. You know, the typical civil society thing of we must do something. So at that time we left, Esther left, and we agreed that we must do something. But even as we were thinking about doing something, none of us knew anything about this sector. Zero, nothing. But anyway, I was like, now, what do we do? We used to have, Purity had baptized me. You remember that time there was Sagarasian? Those twin brothers, Sagarasian and Zijui, those Mamluki fellows, eh? So, Purity they used to call me the Sagarasian, because I somehow would find information. So I found information quickly, and I was able to get, I called my team, and I told them, this newspaper article, we have to act. So they told me, you think about how we are going to act. So I quickly put up terms of reference. Nikasema, terms of reference, we must do a quick appraisal as to what is happening in Kitui. Huyu alikuwa geologist. Chief geologist huko. Wacha tuandike TOR. After we did the TOR, through my own connections, I got the contact of somebody who was in the liaison committee. Of course, because I didn't know what this thing is about, we asked the liaison committee's fellow to give us to respond to the terms of reference. So when he responded, I was like, huyu kizungu yake, he's not doing properly. So we were left with, he's not responded properly, but anyway, thank God he did not respond properly, because we would have given a job to somebody who was an insider. He definitely would not have given us the story as the information. But I remember having been invited in this very hotel a few days later. There was oil and gas. There was IEA that had done a study, and they were Edgar was the consultant. So Edgar presented, I was so mesmerized with the Gedhogo, the English of extractives. I was looking and saying, hey, this one is the one who should do this study. So we sat at the lunch table, and I told him, Edgar, please, can you do for us, we have terms of reference. So I sent him the terms of reference. He responded, I said, this is the right guy. We hired Edgar to do the appraisal. Now, because we were very interested in the thing, we were like, Edgar said he can't go alone. It was dangerous territory. So we said we have to go with him. So we gathered ourselves, Purity, myself, and I think a couple of others, and we went to Kitui, and we were going through the communities. And that is how we met Florence. We went to Caritas. Florence had a study which he had wrapped with a newspaper. So, we were talking in small voices. Where this study, there is. So she told us there is a study that had already been done. It has good information, but she said it is classified. Sasa ikakuwa ni classified. So anyway, tukamwambia tusaidie tu, haki hatutaambia mtu wewe ulitupatia hii kitu. So Florence wrapped the thing in a newspaper and gave us to go, I think, to photocopy and then return it to her. So we were wrapping it in a newspaper, ndio tusionekane kama, so when we were leaving Caritas and we went to town to do the photocopying, we wrapped in a newspaper, ndio mtu asifanye nini, asione. Haya, tukarudishia Florence kitu yake, but we felt like we had found the gem. We had found the thing. So Edgar was telling us, this is the mother of all the information that we were looking for. We did the appraisal, we did the report, but when we looked at the report, it felt I personally felt that this cannot just be any civil society report that should be, put in the shelves. So we said we are going to launch this report, and I remember we went to Limuru uko kwa watu ya NCCK, Jumuiya. That is where we launched the report, and we had invited people from Tanzania, Haki Madini Tanzania. By the way, we stole their name there with their permission. So we said, you are Haki Madini Tanzania, there is nothing wrong in us being Haki Madini Kenya. And that is how, in November of 2014, we launched Haki Madini. We had no money. Nothing, zero. We had no money, but we have launched anyway. So just after we had done the launch, I remember we gathered our partners. At that time, we had Anglican Development Service and others. We gathered them. That Karum there of navigators. So I told them, by the way, we have a big report here. And this report, I think, in my view, if we do not do anything, we shall be judged by God. I think I was still godly. I was still, the fire of the heavens was working on me. So I said, we cannot afford to not do something. In Diaconia, we used to have something called a bridging year, where in a bridging year we would not have money. So, because we're now going into a bridging year and we were not going to have money, I remember asking the partners, please give me money. Please give me money. And I am fundraising from you, yes, I am your donor, but now it is me fundraising from you. So we sat at a table, and by the way, those guys gave me 17 million. Me, I was the richest woman. 17 million to power the work of Haki Madini. That's how we powered the work. Some of them I would say, wewe nipatie 500, wewe nipatie milioni, wewe milioni 2 kwa budget yako, you know, and we gathered 17 million. Of course, it was borrowing, but by force. You know the way you una borrow, lakini una nini hivi, namna hii, you know, ile ya Ruto hii, ya namna hii. We did that, and we were able to then gather 17 million. And it was with 17 million that we were able to now begin the coalition in 2015. That is when we even went to South Africa, tukasema, hey, South Africa, lazima tuende tukasikie hii kitu inaitangwa coal mining, to see the dangers of coal mining. We gathered ourselves, we went, Edgar, Florence, tukaenda huko, tukaenda na bishops. We went, we said we want to have people with collar. By the way, let me remind you something. When we were going to do the appraisal, because we were told it is dangerous territory, Mr. Omega was there as a senior geologist. So it was dangerous territory. So Edgar advised that we should go with the name of the church. So I said, if we have to go with the name of the church, first of all, put the Catholics here, put the NCCK here, put Diaconia here, because Diaconia is faith-based. Then I would go, and I remember when we went to pay a courtesy call to the county commissioner, I was the head of delegation, country director. So namwambia, my name is Lucy Gedaiga. I am those days we used to be called country manager. I'm the country manager of Diaconia, and Diaconia is a faith-based organization founded by churches in Sweden, and we are also members of the ACT Alliance. ACT Alliance is action by churches together, and we are member, and NCCK is our member, you know, to make sure that first of all you have bombarded them with a faith thing. Sisi ni watu wa Mungu, we mean no harm here. And I remember NCCK gave us, there was a Reverend Kilunda. Reverend Kilunda used to have the collar, so we would walk with Reverend Kilunda everywhere. Everywhere we went, Reverend Kilunda had to be there. I remember in the course of doing the study, he would say, my name is Reverend Kilunda, and I am speaking to you on behalf of God. You know, because it was tough. It was a very tough time, you know, entering Kitui. And Bwana Omenge here had before he became converted, you know, there was a time of conversion. Before he became converted, to welcome us and to make, you Hannah, you don't know that history. Now this history of Omenge here, Mr. Omenge had made it difficult. In fact, he had said, you people of civil society are persona non grata in Kitui. You are not supposed to come here, and if you want to come here, you must have authorization from the Ministry of Mining. That is how come the letter to the ministry was signed off by Canon Karanja, because we said it must be signed off by Mutu wa Yesu, so that at least so that they can accept. Well, I'm telling you, those days, it was tough. It was really tough. So anyway, we managed to still get permission to go in, to go in. But I remember at one point, KHRC with their combatant, Alube. We went with Alube one time, and Alube said, what do they mean? Ati, we can't come here, how? How? You know how she speaks, how? You know, so we were gathering courage, and we were asking, by the way, how? How can we be... How can government intimidate us? You know, how can we be intimidated? You know? Anyway, 2016, we went, I remember we were still trying to gather, to figure out how do we get government. Because it was at the height of now the 2016 Mining Act. We wanted to get involved in the process. Serikali imetukazia. Kuria, this man here. Me, I had an interest. Siku ile tulisema tunaenda kufanya hii mining, nikasema hata mimi naweza choga kitu hapo. So I remember I had joined the program called Emerging Leaders in Mining or something like that. So the alumni, I had called the person who was managing the alumni, and I was given Kuria's number. So I called Kuria. Kuria, we met somewhere I think we met at a petrol station somewhere on Mombasa Road, if you may not remember. But when we met there, we told you how we have interest. That time I was not even at civil society. Mimi nitoa kofia ya civil society nikaigia biashara haraka sana. Kuria, when Kuria met, he said we told him we want to get into Taita Taveta because we are interested in gemstones. So he gave us the contact of Omito. So we went to see Omito at 3 a.m. We drove with my nephew to see Omito. Omito was such a wonderful man. So tulipomaliza biashara ya tunataka kumai, nikamwambia sasa huyu ni biashara, mimi ni civil society. I wore my civil society hat. And I said now, I want civil society to come here. By the way, the work of Taita Taveta, that is how it started. So it started, so Kuria, thanks to you, Omito, Taita Taveta work. Then, hapo, nikaanza kusikia maneno ya gold, kidogo. Nikasema, mimi naweza ingia huko, namna hii. You know, I became the chair of our week. I was elected in absentia. Nikiwa huko Kakamega on 14th of December. I still remember, 14th of December 2016. And we now started doing this work together. Now, we had a lot of course, we went on to Kafanya. The rest is history. Unajua ma story mingi. Lakini, that girl called Florence, you know, during that time, because the liaison committee was very fierce. And so they said, one time we wanted to meet with them, and they said, no, we can only meet one person. And that person was identified as Florence. And they were supposed to meet in Matun, Dallas. Hey! Sasa we were like, now how do we send a lady? And it was at night, by the way. She left here very late in the evening because they said they are meeting there. I think it was supposed to be 8 o'clock. So we kept on the phone monitoring every step of Florence, monitoring because we kept asking ourselves, now we have sent her. Suppose they go and murder her. What shall we say? Anyway, mimi nilikuwa mkatoliki, ninakaa na rosari, naoba with colleagues. Anyway, our dear Florence was safe. She took risk. Thank you, Florence, for taking the risk on behalf of the coalition. But I think the journey was beautiful. But a few things that I remember happened, and some of maybe my own reflections. I think we were very clear, just like Purity said, we were very clear that this thing was for community. By the way, in the beginning of Haki Madini, we would never hold any meeting without community members present. We used to pay for their fare to come all the way from Kitui, and they would be present every day. And we would have those morning meetings, early morning meetings. Kilunda would come very early in the morning, and with Florence, Aki Florence, the journeys she has traveled from Kitui, leaving very early so that they can be in Diaconia at 8 o'clock. Thank you so much, Florence, for that sacrifice. I think it's quite good. So anyway, we had a lot of focus on the community. We had to galvanize ourselves as a team to ensure that we are working together. And I think Purity mentioned how sometimes tulikuwa tunakwaruzana vichwa. Groups, I remember, do you remember that meeting? We had a meeting at Donham Day up to late in the night, trying to resolve conflict, because groups na kanisa hawaelewani. Hao wanasema wao ni dialogue, hao wengine wanasema sijui wao ni, walikuwa wanasema vitu gani, sijui top bottom, aga wao up. I mean things that were not, it was just not philosophically. It's not like, and I remember one time, I still remember when I called Esther at night, nikiwa pale Galeria usiku saa 4, namwambia watu wako wametuletea shida. They are not budging. So anyway, and a lot of night meetings, very many night meetings, and even resistance from the community because of per diem. So unajua hii kitu yenu ya per diem, hii kitu yenu ya civil society ya per diem. Sasa wakasema wanataka per diem. Sisi hatuna per diem. Wacha mkutano ikue hai, we cannot work, until we had to pack and come back to Nairobi and said whenever they feel they want us to support them, they will call us and we shall support them. But we had night meetings. I remember one time we met in Kitui, inaitwa Kitui Guest House. Kitui Guest House up to 2 a.m. talking mining. Kai, this coalition, hey. Anyway, but I think there was very solid teamwork. very solid. And I think those are the shoulders upon which you're standing today, which is great. We were managing conflicts effectively. It's not to say that we didn't have conflicts in the room. We had conflicts in the room, but we were very clear about what it is that we were intending to do. Always lead with purpose. I think that's a reflection that I think is coming to mind now, that you really need to lead with purpose. Because unless you have the purpose, it becomes difficult. We have had the example of taking risks. I think we took a lot of risks. Florence was at the forefront of, of taking these risks. Collaboration, networking, using your own personal networks to be able to bring the work to bear. I remember when I was going to South Africa, Paul Mirie, because of this ministry was hard. Serikali, fugueni milango. Thank God you have fuguad milango. But if I tell you the story of how we managed to get into ministry, I got enrolled into a program called Emerging Leaders in Mining Africa. Kitu kama hiyo, na vitu ya sijui ya gadoe, hii vitu ya aga AMDC, aga Vision, hii vitu mnafanyanga huku civil society. Those ones. So, we flew with Paul Mirie, your colleague. And I kept saying, Paul, see, you've opened for us the doors of ministry. Please open for us. But there was an opportunity to go to the mining Idaba, I think in one of the years. And when we went, I stuck to those ministry people, Jennifer, Omito. I stuck with them like, there you stick there like a what? Like a tick. When it was time for the minister to give his presentation and his speech, I sat at the front and I was smiling with my face. I was opening my eyes so that he can at least notice me, and I was clapping every time he would make a point, clapping. And then I made sure before he left, I went and waited for him at the lobby, and I said, CS Kazungu, you did very well. That was excellent. And by the way, I am from civil society, and civil society would like to come and meet you. And he gave me an appointment. When he gave us an appointment, I told my crew, mufungue budgets, muende mutengeneze kila mtu budget yake, tupatie serikali so that they see that there is nothing to hide. So that is how the doors were opened. So by the time the PS was coming, and PS did a wonderful job of opening. Thank God we were women. I think even being a woman was good. Because as he was saying, we would go, so we would tag along awake, mimi ni awake woman, but also mimi ni diakonia Haki Madini, so inachanganyika hapo, mchanganyiko, and we would do a great job. So I think it was really nice. But I think for me, collaboration, networking, and allowing all of us to sort of bring in our interest to bear and our strengths, Alube with her combative, Edgar with his high-level technical knowledge. In fact, I kept telling him, Edgar, calm down to under the tree. Please, your beneficiation, tafuta alternative language, because the people of Kitui must understand the beneficiation ni kusema vitu gani. Hizo vitu zote hiyo kizungu mingi, please, Edgar will tell you, I really used to challenge him. And thank God I did, because the communities would sit in the meetings and feel comfortable and feel confident that they are engaging with the issues, and they were able to make a lot of contributions. So I think there was all that marrying of different strengths. The other thing that I think comes to mind is passing on the baton. When I was this Mamruki Sagarasian, when I left the scene, I passed the baton to Gladys. Gladys became the Chief Sagrasian. We used to call her the Chief Sagrasian. She is the one who used to camp at the PS's office, ensure that things are going on. So thank you, Gladys, for being for taking the baton from the Chief Sagrasian to the Chief Sagrasian. That was great. Thank you so much. And I think one of the other reflections that I have is that you will not always be there. By the way, all of you seated here, there will come a day when you will not sit in those seats. There will come a day when you will not be there. But the difference is what you do when you're there. I think when you're there, whatever it is that you need to do, you do it well. But I just want to take this opportunity to really thank colleagues. Allow me, Hannah, I know Hannah told me I have 5 minutes. I told her, sipeyangu with 5 minutes. 5 minutes kiaje sasa, I can't work with 5 minutes. Anyway, Purity has been my colleague for the last 12 years before I transitioned into theology. She was my colleague. We worked with her. And let me tell you, in 2020, she said that I'm the one who cut funding. Wacha kuniharibia jina. Anyway, I was pregnant with another project. we were doing context analysis during that 2020 year or 2019 or thereabout. And I felt very strongly that the issues of young people in this country, the economic issues of young people in the country, demanded response and demanded attention. So I was torn between this baby called Haki Madini and these other ones, these young people. Mimi, pregnancy yangu ikasema za, my youth. This girl cried. She wept. Literally, this one, she wept. We had, and she, my goodness, Purity had a heart for Haki Madini. Now when you are a leader, sometimes unaondoa hiyo emotion, unakaa ngumu, but she kept weeping for Haki Madini. And I know that the other day we spoke with her. We are still very good friends with Purity. We spoke with her and she told me, you are about to, vitu kuna nuru gizani. And I said she is back to her life because she loves Haki Madini. You have a lot of support in her, even though for me I left. So Mr. Omenga, thank you for opening doors, those night meetings. Hiyo document ulinifanya nifanye usiku sana, but it was good. It was during the KGJF actually. So thank you so much. Thank you for your commitment and for your support. And remember when you were going for the interview of the PS, you called me. We sat in this hotel. Nikakupatia points. Ukapita interview. Na huku ninunulia chai after that. But anyway, mambo ya dunia inalipagwa hapa duniani. Aya, so Hannah, thank you. We served with you in the board of AWIC. Asante sana. We served well together. And I know you have continued to hold the banner of AWIC. Kuria, thank you for connecting us to Omito. Thanks to you, Taita Taveta work began just like that. Okay? Alaka, young girl, we recruited you at night, yes, for sure. And you did well, and you continue to do very well. But please continue to hold the support for the coalition because it is great. Frolens, wewe Mungu akubariki kwa kutake risks on your life for the coalition. By the way, please thank that girl. She took risks driving at night and making very early morning drives to Nairobi. Gladys, Chief Sagracian, asante sana for your role. Elizabeth, thank you very much. I am mentioning those ones that I know. What else do mimi mujue ninawapenda nyinyi wote. Sawa. Elizabeth, thank you. You took over from Alube. And finally, and of course our friend here, walileta ile combatant mode na tulikuwa tunawaambia mkobat, lakini pia waacha hii dialogue people, waacha pia kanisa iongee. Kina Eusebius, waacha pia kanisa ifanye nini? Iongee. But I know they used to fight me a lot, but they are good people. Edgar, in his absentia, please pass our regards to Edgar. He was a great man. By the way, this coalition, much as kulikuwa na diaconia, Edgar was really a torch. He really was a torch. So please let's thank him in absentia. And many other colleagues, Bernard, Cambo here, Malombe, my friend. Can I even remember them? Jesus, wamenisahaulisha. Harriet, Wote, Groots, the people of Groots. Please, all the partners that served during the 7 original, the 7 musketeers who have now grown into 19. I think had we not stuck together, this coalition would not have been what it is. The FBOs, you have my love in my heart. Nyinyi ni wagu. Kwanza hata nikatoka diaconia nikaingia kwenu kabisa sasa. Mimi sasa ni reverend. Naona. So thank you very much. And KHRC, thank you. And I remember when I was transitioning from diaconia, we spoke with Malombe, and Malombe told me he was going to, to KHRC would take over the hosting. And I knew that they are in safe hands. So continue hosting. Where mtu ya KHRC, salimiana huko, na muendelee kufanya kazi mzuri. Asanteni sana. Groots, TI, and all the partners, even the 19 that have later joined, asanteni sana. Just as you go forward, remember to hold together. Remember to hold together no matter what. Of course, the more you are in the room, the more you need to be sensitive about issues of conflict. But no matter what, please hold together. Keep the vision in front of you. And the vision, I think, as we have said, the communities really must be at the center. Everything that you do, really, the communities need to be at the center. Embrace dialogue. Keep forging those relationships. I have built very good friends, as a result of the work that I have done. And finally, I am a financial coach. let me end by saying this is not for Haki Madini, this is for all of you, except maybe Bwana Omenge here. Nyinyi watu, mnajua nyinyi ni watu ya mshahara? Please remember, mshahara is not permanent and pensionable. Maybe him, he is permanent and pensionable. But the rest of us, please take care of your money. Be good stewards of the resources that you're earning in this sector. Because if you don't, a day is coming. Mimi ni kama yule John the Baptist. Hey, repent! Repent of your financial sins. You know, you repent of your financial sins so that in your days when you leave the work that you're doing, you will still be able to apply Q-Tex. So, tafadhali. Number 2, whatever it is that you do, by the way, just give it your all. Give it your heart. Give it your all. Do it with passion. We used to say, deep. Do it for God. There's something I used to tell our partners. Deep. Do it for God. Do it with integrity. Do it with passion. Sijui kama bado mnawaambiaga hivyo, mulisahau. But those are the things that I used to tell our partners to do. And I pray that the Lord will continue to lead you and guide you. And above all, whatever you do, hata kama wewe unasema sidhani kama kuna Mungu ako, please put God at the center. Asanteni.
Did I lie? Thank you very much, Lucy. And I do not want to repeat, but I think one thing that your story tells us is that the vision has been carried. The foundation was set, and I think the 19, even if the organizations comes with very different mandate, the vision still remains, that we uphold our communities in the sector that we are working in. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think that will be the end of listening to our speeches. I will quickly go into the next round. Edgar sends his apologies, and so we shall go to the award ceremony. And Furaha and Ernest, wako wapi? Where are the awards? So Lucy kind of preempted this, our vote of thanks. And while we were thinking, who shall we give this award, or who shall we recognize? Imagine we had a men category, and I'll start with the men category. And because this is men category, Lucy, maybe come here and do me the honor. As I call the name, for those that are not here, we shall ensure that they get there. Kwa hivyo ni makofi. And this is honoring the men that have championed the coalition and the work in the extractives industry. Sorry? Okay. CG. Sasa umeandika jina juu. You know who it is. Nikisema jina. Okay. You're ready? Okay. So in absentia, so we'll just clap. We want to recognize the work of Geoffrey Kerecha, Strathmore University. And we wanted to recognize people that would normally not be recognized. That young man has done a lot of work in the industry. We want to recognize Augustine Wanjala. In the room, where is Charles Wakungu? Has he left already? He left. Charles, he left. Okay? Especially in oil and gas. And nobody ever recognizes the work he has done. So we shall give him his flowers. Yes. Lastly, I want to recognize Kashi Jermaine. For those that know Kashi Jermaine, where are you? Kwale Mining Alliance. Karibu tukupatie maua yako. Hey, that is not a clap for a man who has worked hard in the sector. Yes. Yes. So can I have the award for Jermaine? Eco News.
That thing of the thing.
Or the mechanism, the community, yeah. So just receive your award. Asanti, anaitwa Jermaine Kashi. We recognize the work you do. Asanti. Also, lastly, in absentia, it seems all the men we invited didn't turn up for the awards. Edgar Odari, Eco News. And I think Lucy highlighted. Lastly, the gentleman we want to recognize is Mr. Omenge. Thank you for supporting us. Wewe ndio utampatia because of protocol na seniority. Mr. Omenge's award. Maybe for now we just don't put them in the bags. Just give them as they are. Asanti sana, Mr. Omenge. Thank you. Lucy, you may be seated. Thank you. So the next category that we had was partners. And this one I'm looking at who will come and give this award. I shall call upon, now the problem is that there are partners who will get, so I can't call them to give. Alaka, come and give this award to partners. And they'll be received by their representatives who are here. I want to start by recognizing Diaconia for championing Haki Madini. So Purity, please come and collect. On behalf of Diaconia, the coalition appreciates the work, the mobilization, the late nights, the risks, etc. Asante. The National Council of Churches of Kenya, NCCK, are they in the room? No, we shall give them in absentia. Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, can we have the representative come and pick the award? Asante sana. Caritas, come. Is okay. So come and collect together. Oh, very good. Asante sana. For partners, lastly, and this one I'll ask Furaha to just present because the partner is standing here. So we shall appreciate Oxfam continuing to champion extractives in the sector. Yeah. Okay, so yeah. So Mr. Omenge, I want you to join me here because you will be presenting the next award. And this is the women category. And I want to start with Madam Lucy Githaiga. Asante. Asante sana. Fighting coalition, fighting awake, fighting diaconia, kila mtu. Asante. We appreciate. Thank you. I think they want you to stand there because of photography. Yeah. Umepata photo? Mzuri? Okay, sawa. The next person we want to recognize, and I know she didn't come, is Esther Githaiga, Roots Kenya, for their support. Sorry, Esther Mwiru and Root. Sorry, so Esther Roots Kenya. We shall deliver the award to her. Florence Ndeti. Tafadhali, come for your award. And by the way, when the small committee was ending, we had no story of the risks and what had transpired. No, not at all. So thank you very much. We honor you. We see the work you have done. Asante. I want also, we didn't also know the story about Gladys and collection. So Gladys, come for your award, tafadhali. Chief, Super Chief. Thank you very, very much. We honor the work you have done for the coalition. Asante. Thanks. Mr. Omenge, you may be seated. The last woman we want to honor, we are honoring posthumously. And this is none other than Mary Ekai, who died in the line of duty. And Mary was killed 2 years ago in Turkana County. She was an AWIC board member. She had started Gems for Peace. And at the point of Mary's death, Mary was going to start mining coltan in Samburu. And she had organized the women to go into a cooperative. And they were going to join the cooperative using cows. So the time she was killed, the cows had been stolen and she was following the cows. And you know the conflict in West Pokot. So posthumously, we honor Mary Ekai. We shall take the award to her husband, who lives in Nairobi. And so, ladies and gentlemen, is just to say we see, we are grateful. Words cannot say thank you enough. But anytime you look at her, I would say that we are always remember the dedication and commitment you put towards the work at Haki Madini. Na kwa hayo marefu na mafupi, I want to call representation, Mr. Cornelius, to make closing remarks, vote of thanks. We shall close with a word of prayer and really call it a day. Asante. As hosts,
did you really read the program? Whose name is there?
I was advised.
Oh. Okay. So I think this has been a wonderful occasion, celebrating 10 years of hard work. And managing coalition is not easy. Having joined KHRC just a year ago and listening to the story of Haki Madini, I know it has not been easy. At the time we are almost down, and now we are back. I've looked at the strategic plan. It's very, very spot on. I also share in the idea of having this coalition to be community-centered, because that's where it matters a lot. There's a time I was in Turkana, and the kind of joy I saw, after 2 years of working there, with support from Trokra, I could see the frustration that all those hopes that people had put on possibility of getting oil was now being shattered. So sometimes minerals, all these things we call natural resources can be a curse if not checked. And I think where we really need to do a lot of work is access to information. Because most of this mining business is done between government and the investors, most of them foreign. Now, we don't seem to get a lot of information about the partnerships agreements and where this community stand to gain. So we must, as a matter of urgency, and through the support and of Kenya Human Rights Commission as a host, to see to it that all these agreements are put bare so that people really understand what they stand, what will the benefit accruing to the communities. Before I make the closing, the vote of thanks, I think as the current host of Haki Madini, it behoves us as a host organization to really provide the anchorage that is required to see to it that this coalition remains strong, agile, and focused to the aspirations of the coalition members and the communities at large. So I think that KHRC is a committee that will provide the best ever environment for this coalition to operate. So I know I came a bit late, but I know there are actors from government, from civil society, mainly Haki Madini coalition members and other community members who have joined us. I must say, in organizing this celebration, it has taken hours and days. I know a number of people have not slept. I know Furaha works a lot. And sometimes at KHRC, we wonder whether we'll really maintain her. Tomorrow, mtatuambia kwamba now we've gotten big funding, we want to engage her fully. That's when our fights will start. Because there's also work to be done at KHRC. But all the same, I know she's been on top of things, working very hard with the support of the steering committee to see to it that everything else concerning this coalition succeeds. So I want to thank the executive committee or the steering committee of Haki Madini. I know Edgar is not here, and other representatives. I want to thank the individual member organizations that have worked, even thinking through the SP was a very rigorous process. I did attend one of the sessions. I know we really struggled with what should constitute our core priority areas. And I see a very comprehensive document that will guide us in the next 5 years. And more importantly, I want to thank the partners, especially our funding partners who have stood with us, Diaconia at the early stages, and now Oxfam, who have really put a lot of resources to see to it that this coalition remains strong. Government partners, I know there have been mixed stories here and there. At some times, doors are not opening, but through the tricks of Lucy, I think they are now converted, and their statements here today is a testimony that they are really for this coalition, and they're really giving to it that they'll support it moving forward. So I think that is a great work, even having a change of heart and all the legal and policy reforms that have taken place under their watch. So to the organizers, anybody else who may not have mentioned, I think I just want to say thank you, and this has been very successful because of your individual and collective support. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
So, ladies and gentlemen, what is not farmed is mined. Extractives is here to stay. And I can tell you, free news, we are going into a boom season. And the work for CSOs is cut out, at least for another 10 years, especially around what the world is calling critical minerals. And they happen to be in all the counties you are working in. And so I am repeating again that it is time, put house in order, let us work together, let us get more members into the coalition. And Lucy, you have challenged me. We are 19. Kila mtu akitoa million, 19. We should not struggle as a coalition. Cynthia? And if we add more, because there's more CSOs, then I think we shall be calling you for strategy. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, I want to call it an evening and say thank you very much for sitting and listening. And is our website up and running, Furaha? It is, eh? Yeah, and maybe what I've not seen we have done is link our individual organization websites to that one. Maybe that is what we should now rally the other organizations to do, and to tell the world the coalition is now charged and ready to go in implementing its next 5 years. So asante sana and have a good evening and get home safe. Do we have a volunteer to pray for us? Going once. Sorry. Beatrice. We've been seated for long. Can we stand?